What's up? Hey guys, welcome back to the Mental Health Warriors. Guys, this is going to be an amazing episode. We're going to be talking about some things that are near and dear to my heart. As somebody who's got almost 36 years clean and sober coming up January 1, I know I struggled my first year of sobriety. And that's something I think we want to talk about because Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas, all different holidays. And if you're trying to stay sober, a lot of people around the table is just going to say, you know what, Rich, you can just have one. And we want to make sure that if you can't have one, that you don't have one. So, guys, welcome back. And Adam and you guys, thank you so much for having me in the show today.
Hi. How is everyone?
Amazing.
That's good. That's
alive
good.
And sober.
Alive and sober. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
So how's everyone's week been? Are we doing well? Are we not kicking ass? Are we not ready to, I don't know, call it a day? Nah.
Kicking ass, taking names and kicking ass. Absolutely.
Ashley's still debating.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a busy week, but it's good. It's kicking ass.
Absolutely.
Better than having your ass kicked, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great perspective, Nancy.
I'm going through some shit time, but I'm still here. I'm still kicking ass.
Well, and that's the reality of life, though, isn't it? We go through shit.
Yeah.
And like Richard said, I mean, the holidays, we had Thanksgiving here already in Canada. We had it last weekend. I don't know how that works. I don't know whether the Indians were here first or last or how that whole thing happens. Y'all have your elections before we have our elections. There's just no normality. Normal is a setting on a dryer. It's true, though. And when you think of addictions, we can be addicted to self-sabotaging our life.
Yes.
We can be addicted to so many things, and there's nothing like family to help you check in on where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about we share a little bit about our recovery, because recovery is not just about whether it's drugs or alcohol. It could be anything. Could be addicted to whinging like Ashley. I'm joking. It could be addicted to shopping. It could be addicted to, I don't know,
Gambling,
pornography,
sex.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And it's individual for each and every one of us. Who here has had one addiction alone? Just one?
Just one? No, they're never just one.
And how many times have you gone through recovery?
I'll do that for the rest of my life.
You will.
Yeah.
To think that it's over is asinine. It never ends.
Yeah.
Nope.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll be at it for the rest of our lives. And even the 12 steps we go through in Alcoholics Anonymous, people need to realize if you finish the 12 steps, that it. You've not just recovered, you do those 12 steps for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. And what a blessing. What a blessing that is.
Yeah.
As long as you don't 13th step anybody, you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a step you don't want to go to.
So, Ashley, what are you addicted to? Here we go.
I think for me, it is control.
Elaborate.
So for me, because I am a child of divorced parents where everything felt like it was out of control in my life, now I feel like I have, sorry, my dogs are going bananas. I feel like I have to control everything. Because if I don't, then again, it triggers me into everything is out of control. So if I can control my schedule, if I can control where my kids go, what my kids do as far as gaming or who they're talking to for friends, and like where my husband is going, what our finances look like, all of those things, if those are within my control and I can navigate everything for that, then I'm okay. But the minute something diverts that, it's like it puts me into the, I don't want to say panic attack because it's not necessarily that, but it makes me frustrated and bitter and like anxious as well of I'm behind and like I had a plan and this is what it was and now it's gone to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, I tell everybody that I'm still a drug addict. I'm still an alcoholic, and that's my superpower. I don't consider it a bad thing. It's a good thing because I know now I can sit and watch people get drunk and stupid, and I can just sit and watch and learn everything. So for me, being an addict is actually helping me because now I'm addicted to success. I'm addicted to being a great father and a great husband. So I love being addicted to things, except some things I just can't touch. I can't do. I can't have a drink. I can't have a smoke. I don't do any of that. But I'm addicted to other things. And like Grant Cardone says, once you find the things that you like to be addicted to that are healthy for you, then you're living a good life. So for me, I'll always be an addict, and I'm proud to be an addict. And I'm never afraid to tell anybody that I am an addict.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we all are. We're all addicts of something.
Yeah. And if somebody out there ever says I'm not an addict, I'm pretty much going to call bullshit because the average person picks up their phone between 400 and 700 times a day. If that's not addiction, you tell me what addiction really is.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like saying, I'm just going off topic here. It's saying raising an autistic child so easy. No, it's not. That's bullshit. Yeah.
And then there's also people that get addicted to taking care of other people. There's people, they'll go from relationships to relationship trying to fix somebody. That's their addiction, is trying to fix somebody else, but they don't realize that that is their addiction.
Yeah. So what was your personal history when we was first on these substances? Like, what was going through our mind? Because I know it's all the self-centered ego, selfishness, aggressiveness, whatever. All that was flooding through ours, but we was thinking that's good behavior.
Well, like when I was on Nance's show, we talked about I had my first drink at 11.
Tim.
And I was a drunk by the age of 12. So it didn't have to do with a lot of things, except I knew that once the liquor touched my lips, I became somebody else. Yeah. So for me, I didn't have a lot of stuff. I just liked the taste of it, and I liked the feeling of it. And as an 11-year-old, now at 12, I'm a full blown drug addict and alcoholic at 12. So for me, it was just being able to be somebody else. That was the reason why I like to drink.
Absolutely.
Fitting in. I took my first line of cocaine so I could fit in. And then I wanted to spend more time with my ex-husband. So I did more cocaine, as well as the friendship base that we had. And then when it amped up to, geez, he was spending a lot of time with the crack pipe. And, maybe if I did that, I could spend more time with him. It was innocent in the beginning. I had no idea that I was down the dreaded road of addiction. No clue at all. No clue.
No.
It's like being in water. You don't know you're in it when you're head deep. When you're fully submerged, you got no clue that you're even in the water. That's how addiction can begin. It's not always known.
No, it's not.
And it's fun
Christine.
until it stops being.
Christine, you've got a hell of an experience, haven't you?
Where do you want me to start? Let's see. My first addiction was probably sex. Then it moved to fitting in. Then it was cocaine. Then it was alcohol. Then it was pain pills. Then it was tattoos, piercings. All that got in there. So yeah, there were a lot of addictions in there. What I'd like to first address is the actual definition of addiction. I actually did a podcast on my own with an expert way back when, almost a year ago. And what you need to remember with addiction is, because there were a couple of words thrown around and a couple of things thrown around. Richard said cell phone is an addiction. And the reason that is an addiction is because of that definition. If it causes you or others harm and it prevents you from leading a healthy, productive life, it's an addiction. If you're having a problem with work, coworkers, friends, family, if those substances, whatever they are, whether it's a cell phone or cocaine, if they take precedence over your children and your family, simply even eating and taking care of yourself, it's an addiction. And I just wanted to kind of clarify what addiction was. And because we can have vices, but is it truly an addiction? There are people out there that love to play video games. Is it an addiction? Now, if they're missing work because they're playing video games, it's an addiction. It's a problem. If they're neglecting family because they would rather play the video games, it's a problem. It's an addiction. So I just wanted to address that. But yeah, I have. Yes, Richard is correct. We are always addicts. I'm not quite sure the word recovering, because we never recover. We're always an addict. Okay. We're in submission, remission. I don't know what you want to call it. But yes, I'm definitely an addict. I will always be an addict. And knowing that is half the battle.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what I learned at AA this past week is there's all that saying going around saying if you have a drink and stuff like that, it takes 9 or 10 drinks before you're pissed and stuff like that. But no, it hits you on that very first drink, because that's when the mental obsession comes in. And I listened to a podcast last week, I think it was. I can't remember who it was. And the bassist saying, if you relapse, which I think we all have, and you drink again, it's virtually impossible to drink safely ever again. Virtually impossible.
Patterns. It's about patterns.
Yes.
So when we think about our addictions and then we think about our well-being, our self-care, all of those things, we can move away from our addictive tendencies by moving closer towards the things that are healthy, whatever that is. The word addiction, I've heard people say that they're addicted to running. Are you running away from something, or do you enjoy the change in your hormones? We globalize things way too much. I like lip gloss. I use it. Am I addicted to it? No, I don't have to have it. I don't start to twitch and Jones.
Again,
Jones.
because it doesn't interfere with your life, right? Exactly. And if you don't have it, you're not freaking out about it.
Oh my God,
Right.
where's my lip gloss? Right? Like, oh wow. But seriously, it just bring it into a sense of perspective. Are we using it to escape? Are we using it to enjoy? Where is that healthy balance? And it changes every day. So I'm always recovering to a better place of being. I'm improving.
Yeah.
Or I'm sliding.
It's same with addicted to too much self-care. Like there's that saying in it, gym freaks who spend 7 days a week in a gym. It's like, fair enough, go to the gym. You want to work out? Okay. You want to lose a few pounds? Fine. Want to build some muscles? Fine. But if you've got a family, whatever, there's more to life than the gym.
The only way that we would know is to speak to the family. No way to know. They might like him better at the gym. That might be a blessing in their life. He might be a better person because he works out every day.
But if the family's saying they prefer that person at the gym and they go, isn't that person not living to their expectations rather than their own?
Communication. You got to communicate between each
Exactly.
individual party. It's not global. It's not global.
Yeah.
It's so individual, right? It's so individual. And when we talk about the different months of recovery, that changes from person to person. I know
Yeah.
that the month of December, I'm much better at Christmas than I used to be. Christmas used to floor me. I remember spending Christmases waiting for the day to end. I didn't want Christmas to come at all. I just bought 2 Santa hats yesterday, one that says naughty and one that says nice, right?
Which one
Oh
are you
my
wearing?
I'm going to gift them. I'll wear them and then gift them. That's what we do sometimes, right? But that's the joy of it. We've got beautiful traditions in our family whereby we bring things and then we do a secret Santa and it goes round and round. So I buy gifts that will make people happy.
Yeah.
And I'm careful about going between, oh, I shouldn't do that because it's not appropriate, and oh my God, really? It's a Santa hat. If someone's going to get bent out of shape about that, they're going to get bent out of shape about that. That's on them, not me. Mindset.
It is. And speaking of mindset, a mental health breakdown. Now, obviously, how do we say it? Addicts, because people depressed, they practically live in bed. But I wouldn't say that's an addict or a choice. So, Ashley, what would you say that is? Compared to your experience?
I think I would say to that, well, first, I guess it depends on the context and it depends on the situation. Like, why is there mental breakdown? Is it overwhelm? Is it, like you said, the addiction? Is it other circumstances that are out of your control that you're letting consume you? Like, what is the ultimate circumstance around that? And then from there, depending on the answer to that, again, I think it comes down to a choice. You can choose to live in that, or you can have the mindset of, this is not my circus, not my monkeys kind of a situation, and you can choose to move forward. Now, I'm not saying that don't acknowledge what's going on, don't avoid the feelings, the emotions, and what's happening. Don't avoid that. But you also have to, again, I think, be aware, but then figure out, okay, how can I move myself out of this? Thank you for the thoughts, because your brain is protecting you. Thank you for the emotions that I was given, but this doesn't serve me. I'm going this direction. Like, there's so many different, I guess, aspects to it. So, like I said, I think it really just comes down to what are the circumstances surrounding why you might be going through that mental breakdown or that emotional state of like that depressive energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we all want to know. Everyone.
Anxiety and depression don't just show up.
No.
They aren't this clown that hops out of the closet like Pennywise from Stephen King's novel.
That would probably make me crap my pants, Nancy, if that ever did happen.
Oh, hey, Penny, you're back, right? When you can identify what it is that your human manager, I prefer human manager over ego because it's helped me unlock a lot of things. That human manager inside of you that says, be afraid, don't be afraid, be afraid, don't be afraid. There are certain things to naturally fear. How much time we spend thinking about that is an indicator as to what frame of mind we're in. If a phone call is missed, and as a mom, I lose it, I got to answer this phone call right now. That's an indicator that I may be too far into my codependency, because codependency was a huge part of my life. I was trying to protect my children from harm. I was trying to ensure that my ex-husband wasn't going to go off the rails on somebody. I was always in protective mode, and I missed being in the present moment. I missed being in the present moment. So addictions take you out of the present moment often, right? Is this really happening? No. You sure? Right? Like, identify the worry. And if you're in a depressive state where you just, I can't even, then reach for support. There's someone that can lift you up or calm you down. We know about when our addictions are going to hit long before they hit. Well, if you're thinking of going to Thanksgiving dinner and you're worried about Aunt May because Aunt May always tells you what you're doing wrong, have a conversation with Aunt May now, identify what it's going to be like, and prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Talk about what's going right in your life so that Aunt May understands that things are really good.
Well, we have to be very careful with what we was addicted to, because we did a food shop a few days ago, and it obviously arrived, and obviously I like onion rings. I think they're really good, but these ones that showed up, beer coated onion rings, I'm like, I can't eat them, so I just threw them away. Because it's like, I can't have that, and I can't give it to the kids.
But I think that the great part about being in recovery, if you say, it's not that for me, it's not that I can't drink. I'm a non-drinker, and that's the way I think of myself. So when somebody says, "Do you want to drink?" I just don't drink. There's no reason for, I just don't drink, because then it's a stopping. It's kind of like me. I don't cheat on my wife. It's a non-negotiable. And for me, drinking, drugging, it's a non-negotiable. So it's not that I can't, it's just that I don't. And I think when you change that mindset, it's like, you know what? I just don't drink. That's something I don't do. It changes your mindset to, you can't to don't. And I think that's been great in my recovery, just having that mindset of I don't.
Yeah.
Not that I can't, it's just I don't.
It's like when someone hurts themselves, but it's not that bad. And obviously they can get up, but they choose not to. And they're saying, "Oh, I can't get up. I can't get up." It's like, is it you can't get up, or is it you won't get up?
Yeah.
Or like doing a job, is it you can't do a job, or you won't do a job? It's all about that shift in the mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all here.
Reverse psychology.
And I love that saying, if you say you can or you can, you're right.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah. So how's our addicts, our addiction affected our families? If it has.
Well, I've been divorced twice. I had 2 practice marriages.
There you go.
Now I'm married to my bride and my everything, but I was the culprit. And I realized in all my relationships, I was the bad guy. And guys, if you've been through a lot of relationships, you're probably the problem. Just sorry to say it, but I've been divorced, twice. It's all been me, and now I realize that it's all me. So if my family life is happy, I say happy wife, happy life, but I also say happy spouse, happy house. So my goal is to be the best husband, the best father that I can be. And I don't ask my wife, like before we got married, I never said to myself, is she good enough to be my wife? My thought was, am I good enough to be the man that she deserves to have? So for me, I put it this way when I talk to people, not following the 12 steps got me thrown out of my house. Following the 12 steps got me into my brand new house. So that's the way I look at it as far as my relationship, my family, my kids. It's on me. Whether it's happy or whether it's sad, it's all on me.
Yeah. What about you, Nance? Has it had an impact on your family, or?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to pick a spot. Pick a spot, any spot. For codependency, a codependent mother creates codependent children. And I was explaining to someone just yesterday how I have seen in the last, let's say 15 years, helicopter parents, like they're always like, text me when you get there. Are you there yet? Right? Like it's that over anxious parent. And then there is the new lawnmower parent. The lawnmower parent takes a lawnmower and clears the path of everything for the child. Make sure that everything is set up just right. So what happens when the kid goes off the path into the forest? They are totally unable to handle the reality of life.
Yep.
Totally unable. So codependency, problems. And what I've learned is that our job as a parent is to raise an adult.
Yep.
Life isn't fair.
Life's a bitch.
No, life isn't fair. Who said it was supposed to be fair? It's simply not. It's filled with challenges.
Yeah. And that's good.
And that's what creates champions.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids were in different sports and they were involved in life and they had to get their homework done before football, finish their homework after, right? It was a challenge. And one of the biggest challenge was that I was identified as the warlord. I was the wicked witch. It was the names that were used to define the parenting that I did as a very overwhelmed mom with 5 kids and a father that had no idea that the words he was using were impacting all of us. So his addiction really flowed through everything.
Yeah.
Was I a codependent before I met him? I was raised with the mindset, a good wife, right? I remember reading a book by Dr. Phil, something about being a good wife. Well, I read that book and I took it with a codependent mind and I became a doormat. It wasn't Dr. Phil's book. It was my ability to understand. Right? No one, I will not tolerate anybody calling me a name. I will simply not tolerate it. And what does that not toleration look like? I hang up. I walk out. I don't even need to tell you why I'm leaving. You can ask. If you can't say it nice, don't say it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like that with my kids as well, where they try and do a job, they don't do it properly. And I'm like to them, it's either when you're doing the job, you do it properly or you don't do it at all.
What does proper mean? Do they understand that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And why aren't they? Opportunity for a conversation, right?
Exactly. Do they like the conversation? No. But when they don't like the conversation, we've got that little saying now where if they don't like something, I'm like, well, that's a you problem then. That's for you to deal with.
We evolve as parents. We get better. Sometimes we get worse before we get better.
Well, someone's loved.
But, I had somebody on my podcast about a year ago that totally changed my life.
Okay.
And we were talking about my daughter. She was 12 then. And he says, I was talking about being a father. He says, be the father that you would have wished you had had when you were 12. Talk to her like you were talking to yourself at that age. And that really changed my mind because they're only little us. And, if you want to be a great father and if you had a shitty father, well, portray to your kids the father that you've always wanted. And try to be the best father and husband that you can be.
Yeah.
And that totally changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's that vicious cycle, isn't it? Where our grandparents were traumatized and they passed it down to our parents and then it goes from there. It's a video I actually shared on TikTok not long ago. It's that I can't remember what it's called now. Generational trauma.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Generational trauma where it's passing down, but then when it gets to us, are we going to continue it and pass it down to our son or daughter? Or are we going to fuck off? I'm better than the trauma and I'm going to raise them what I shouldn't have. I'm going to raise the kid, that I was never brought up to be. So Ashley, you're very quiet, which is very, very weird.
Wow. No, I'm listening, taking it in like usual. No, but I think like Nancy was saying, as far as like that helicopter parenting or the lawnmower parent, I like that analogy because I didn't think of that version of parenting. You always just hear about the helicopter parent. I feel like I have taught my kids independence and it's bit me in the ass because they reach that stage where usually around 3, 4, 5 where I just want to do it myself and you're like, no, we need to leave the house like now and I don't have time for you to do it yourself. But also just giving them that independence and that freedom and letting them problem solve on their own. Because yes, life isn't fair and we are here to, raise functioning, contributing adults to society, So at the end of the day, they need to know that life isn't fair. Life isn't all about them, that like there's going to be challenges and you're going to have to figure out how to problem solve it, but you also need to be people of integrity. Period. Yeah. Because integrity in today's society, I feel like, is completely out the window. Everybody thinks that they're entitled to something, especially the younger generation, even younger than I am. And I float somewhere in between, like the baby boomer generation, and because I was raised in the 80s and early 90s, but the way that I parent is between that baby boomer generation and kind of how I was parented. My kids will go outside. They will, have the freedom to explore, kind of a thing. And thankfully, we live in an area that we're surrounded by farm field. So it's not like I need to necessarily worry, if you will, versus if we were in like big city subdivision, all of that kind of stuff. Not saying that nothing couldn't happen, but they're also kids that will go explore the woods, climb a tree, do all the things. And I think sometimes it worries my husband more than it worries me. And I'm not your referee. Peace out. Figure it out.
So obviously, we know that you've had shit times with your mental health. Yes. Absolutely shit. So what was your first year like when you thought, I'm not going to live like this anymore? I want to love my life. I want to do what's right for me. I want to be a good mum, a better mum than I already was, better partner than I already was, and I want to do things right. So what was your first year bounce back from that?
So for me, it was after I was sick. When you're stuck in a hospital bed connected to IVs and chest tubes and things like you can't do for yourself. You have to call for help. You have to be vulnerable. You're essentially surrendered, if you will, to nurses, to doctors, to all the things, because you can't do it on your own. So then when I got home, I very much let a lot of things go regarding like the house, and not so much the kids, but more so it was about, let's create memories. Let's spend time snuggling on the couch. Let's watch a movie together. Like I don't want to do anything to necessarily compromise that, like by it taking away my peace or getting worked up about it, because at the end of the day, those things don't matter. That was really during my recovery period of time. Because there was moments where I could stand in the living room, putting on worship music, snuggling with my new baby who I missed his first month of life, and I'm just crying. I had expectations of my husband that I knew he was never going to meet, but regardless, I still had them. Of, why are you working so much? Why can't we just be a family and make memories and do things together? Because like I almost died. So it was a very selfish mindset for me to have. But at the end of the day, it was something has to change, because this continuous cycle of burnout and overwhelm and frustration and bitterness and resentment that I was having towards my husband and like just those around me, I was like, this can't continue to go, because my marriage is going to fall apart. Like it's just all crumbling around me. So that was where, again, it was that choice. It was that choice of, if I want something to change, I have to be the one that initiates the change. I have to be the one that it starts with me. And if my husband decides that he's going to change or things are going to be different, that's up to him, not me. I can't control that. So again, there was those instances where I had to surrender some of that control. I had to submit, one, to my husband's leadership of the house, and again, ditch the control. But people look at submission as such a negative word and connotation. Like Nancy said before, you become a doormat. So it's all about the perspective of how you look at submission, especially for me as a biblical Christian woman. I have to look at the biblical submission to my husband. So it really, again, it comes down to that mindset. It comes down to that perspective, and really that choice of what you're going to do to get out of the situation that you're in, positive or negative, and how can you begin the change that you're looking for.
Yeah. So, Christine, what did your year look like?
2 days after I quit drinking without realizing that I quit drinking, I ended up in the hospital. I was in and out of the hospital for almost a year. 4 surgeries, 15 procedures. The first surgery was exploratory. That night that I went into the hospital, they did exploratory surgery that night because it was so bad. The second surgery, they pretty much cut me open from my chest down. My surgeon, when he came in, I will never forget this. When he came in the recovery room, the only words he ever said to me were, "Christine, if you take another drink, you will die." And it was profound. And it was at that moment that I went, this is a theory I don't want to test. And I was 2 days before that I had my last drink without realizing that it was my last drink. I went through a lot of shit in and out of that hospital. That's what's 2 surgeries right then and there. My last surgery was, they put a stent in my liver, and they go through your jugular to put a stent in your liver. My drinking had gotten so bad that my liver had cirrhosis, or however the word is. I had full-blown cirrhosis of the liver. That's how bad the drinking was. As I stated, the first year, it was almost a year. I went in the hospital in September. My last surgery for the stent was April. The longest stay in the hospital was 8 weeks. I ripped staples open after I got home after that 8 weeks and went back into the hospital and spent 2 weeks again in the hospital. When I went in for the stent in April of 2017, 4 weeks in the hospital. You can do a lot of soul searching, healing. I had a priest that came by very early on because I was listed as Catholic, which I was a retired Catholic at that point. I didn't know how do you list on paperwork, other, that I was spiritual, but I didn't know at that point that I was spiritual. I just knew that I was not a practicing Catholic, a non-practicing Catholic. So I had a priest come by every single day. And every single day he'd stop at the door and I would say, he would say, "Hey, Christine, how you doing? I'm good, Father. I'm good. Thanks." He'd pass. Next day, same thing. "I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." Day after day after day after day after day. And it was because of him being persistent and basically just being him that finally, at one point, I said, "Well, look," he actually stuck his head in the door and he said, "Just wanted to say good morning." And I said, "Nope. Get your butt in here. Come on, let's talk." And it was at that moment, we spoke for like 2-3 hours in the hospital room with, and talk about being hooked up to monitors. And I had so many IVs running through my body with antibiotics. Both arms were so bruised. I had a port up here. Each arm had, this, the stands with 4 different medicines on them. Okay. And both arms going at the same time. He comes in, we talk. It was a very profound year, including being with that priest. Now, I told him things that I will never repeat in this lifetime. I've told every story possible. That is one that is definitely what happened in the hospital room stays in the hospital room. But that year of recovery, I not only learned about myself, my healing, my ability, my mental health, my marriage, which was certainly on the rocks, my family, where they stood in all this, my friends, what friends I had. But it was a huge enlightenment being in and out of that hospital for that year of recovery. Now, part of after the second surgery where they pretty much removed my appendix, my gallbladder, my appendix, gallbladder, part of my colon, part of my fallopian, my whole left fallopian tube, and part of my intestine. Okay, I mean they removed a lot because the infection raging through my body was ridiculous. The liver healed eventually because I decided to get healthy. I knew that I wanted to live. By the way, that second surgery where they had almost 100 staples, where they opened me up completely, died on the operating table twice. Died on the operating table twice. Not once, twice. Came home after 8 weeks, living with a narcissistic, abusive husband at the time. Talk about coming home to laundry not being done, house being completely a mess, totally only about him. I had very little help from him. My kids didn't know what to do, and they were young adults. They lived out of the house, but they would stop by, Mom, do you need anything? Ripped open staples, had to go back to the hospital. Now I get addicted to pain pills because that was the only relief that I could find. Now I say I got addicted, but the addiction was in me. And I wanted anything possible to alleviate what was going on in here. Not the pain in my body. Yeah, the pain in my body sucked, without a doubt. But it was all in here. What was going on in here? What was I thinking? What was my mindset? I had that great, wonderful conversation with that priest. I come home to a shit house, to a narcissistic husband that could barely spend, at least, if I was lucky, 15 minutes with me every day that I was in the hospital. If I was lucky, he spent time with me in the hospital. And then it was the phone call, the fake phone call that, oh, I got to go. Somebody needs something. But it was the girlfriend that I found out after the fact calling that they made the prearrangement that if I'm up there longer than 15 minutes, get me out of here, make the phone call. Now you got to live with thoughts of suicide. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm home. I can't move. I have to learn how to walk again, go to the bathroom again. Walking with a walker, having nurses come in every day when I'm home after 8 weeks to help me live again. And do I decide to live or not? Yep. Were those thoughts? Absolutely. So those pain pills were to deal with all those thoughts going through my head. And it wasn't until one night that I had my encounter with Archangel Michael. And he whispered in my ear and has been with me ever since and said, everything will be okay. To me, that was my first year of dealing and healing from those addictions. But make no mistake, it is a daily conscious effort to be clean, sober, and alive.
Nancy? How's your 12-month recovery going on?
You know, so much of what Christine said, I was just like nodding my head, and it resonated with much of my experience in going through my skin cancer while I was still married. And the normal, it wasn't so bad. I mean, he was in a different province taking care of business. I just had no business he was taking care of until later. And when I had my third biopsy, and I went down on my knees and I prayed, and I heard, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death," and it was just like, who dat? Right? Because we either can clearly identify our angels or we can't, and it doesn't happen in an instant. It didn't for me. I had to learn who my angels were. I had to understand what the voice was, whose voice it was. They would show me in colors. There was my experience was unique. And it was when I began to completely surrender everything. Completely surrender everything. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I have none. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, back then I was really sassy still. Like that's the thing. When we go through recovery, we have different bits of ourselves. And back then I'm like, you know what? Okay, Jesus, if you're here, handle it. Right? Like, you're the same guy that took my daughter from me. Go ahead. And the phone rang, and it was a doctor's office. You're clear. We just have to work on the infection that's in your groin, because that's where the skin cancer was, right? So, on my groin, on my legs, all the spots where the bikini covered. So how could I have skin cancer there? Like all of those things that just aren't sensical. And that's where I said to you before, life isn't fair. Life doesn't make sense. If it did, it would be boring. It's an adventure. You're a hero. Start acting like it. That's how my recovery is every day. Right? Every day. So when I think I'm too busy to eat. That's 3 healthy meals a day. So that at the end of the night, you aren't sitting there shoving your face full of nachos. That's my recovery, right? Whatever it is, nachos, whatever, salty, sweet. What a stupid question. Both. That's me. If I don't take care of myself, then I fall back into unhealthy patterns. Life is always choosing to be a hero or falling backwards, right?
Is that especially with those donuts? Yes, in the picture.
Anything. I'll eat any kind of nasty, not good for me food if I don't eat properly all day long. So now I'm like, but at the beginning of the podcast, I had my beautiful vegetable homemade soup. Like, every part of it was homemade. Because when I take care and attention in making my own food, then I'm caring for myself. I'm loving me. Or I can go and grab McDonald's. Not going to happen, right? It's an overall way of being in so many ways. And we can only come at ourselves with full compassion when we're going through the process, right? Just try to be as nice to yourself as you can, and look at how far you've come. No matter where you are in your journey, if it's been sober for 2 weeks or 20 years.
Yeah. How about you, Richard? What does your first year look like of getting off all that shit?
It was a total shit show. The reason was I'm an anomaly. I quit at the age of 20. So I quit before I was even able legally to drink. And the bad thing is, my parents were in active addiction and I lived with them, and my friends drank. So at the age of 20, I had to get away from people, places, and things So at 20 years old, I'm hanging out with 50, 60-year-old guys at the local AA meetings. So for me, that whole first year was a wake-up call, trying to learn how to become a man, and not having a father figure or whatever, but realizing that, okay, I have to reinvent and reimagine my life, and I don't know how, because most of the people that we're hanging out with, they're going to college, they're 20 years old, they're getting engaged, getting married, and the only thing that I could do is just not drink for that day. That was my goal for the day, was just not to drink. So my first whole year was just a shit show. And like I wrote in one of my posts on Reddit yesterday, sometimes in order to win the day, you have to win the hour, or you have to win the minute. Sometimes you have to win the second. And I white knuckled it a lot. But, I think something that Nance was saying is I learned how to be present. And, I realized that there's no way I can get drunk or high if I'm doing the right thing, doing the next right thing. Like, I know that hanging out with you guys, I may get in trouble other ways, but I'm not going to get in trouble, drug wise, alcohol, relationship wise. I know none of that's going to happen. So, and like my sponsor said, he said, I can tell you where you're going to be at 5 years from now. And I'm like, can you tell me that? He's like, let me see your checkbook and let me see your calendar, and I'll tell you exactly where you're going to be 5 years from now. So I think, if we learn to be present, I think that's the best thing we can do. So like my first year, I had a guy, my sponsor, he just said, sit down, shut up. You don't know anything. Make coffee, get to the meetings early, stay late. For 1 year, that's all I did. And now I'm that old school guy that's listen, guys, shut up, make coffee, get to the meetings early and stay late. So that's my first year in recovery.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. See, I've not got to a year yet. Year sober. I haven't, not yet. So, but compared to last time when I went over 6 months sober, this time is easier than it was last time. Last time was hard. And it is known that the first 2 years of recovery is the hardest. It's the hardest. But if we've got that mentality to say, we'll do it, getting to as many meetings as we can, getting the right supportive network around you, we're fine. We're fine. And not picking up a drink that day. Don't focus on tomorrow, focus on today.
It's similar to the grief, right? Remember when you've lost someone that you loved, do you get over it?
Yeah.
So do you ever recover?
No.
Or do you continue to just feel better?
Yeah.
Right? Stay the course. Stay the course. Who here has done Spirit's showing me a really funny picture, so I can get this straight. Who's been on a stand-up paddle before? Anybody? No? Like a stand-up paddle, like row your boat, stand-up paddle. Okay, so the first time that I learned on a stand-up paddle, I learned in the ocean, right? Because I'm like, oh, sure, I can do this, right? My God, I biffed. I mean, I had the cord wrapped around my leg, the paddle's going this way, I'm going that way. Like, that's what recovery can feel like.
Yeah.
And the ocean will bring you back. It's the flow. Trust the flow. Trust it. You've got this. Just kick ass every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, if you're on about paddling, Nance, I've been paddling before. And that was a very horrific experience for me.
Maybe that's why Spirit suggested
No,
it.
you
I
ain't
don't
gonna laugh
know.
at this. You ain't gonna laugh at this because I still remember like it was only yesterday where I'm shit when it comes to motor skills. I really am. So I obviously was doing it, no problem. And I came across this big world thing, and I was trying to speed up to get past it, but I couldn't. So, but obviously I got past it a little bit, but then I slid in, and the boat was literally on top of me, and I was underwater.
And by the grace of God, here you are.
I'm here. Luckily, I could swim.
And by the grace of God, here you are. So
Yeah.
when you're struggling and you're not sure how you're going to make it through the 12 months of recovery, by the grace of God. And if you have a problem with God, write it backwards.
Yeah,
By the grace of dog.
exactly.
Whatever you need to do, right? Whatever you
Exactly.
need. Yeah.
So, final question for all, and I'm going to pick on Ashley first because she's been the quietest. If you could talk to your younger self right now, what 3-piece advice would you give them? All right, I'll give it 5 then. 5 word.
5 words.
Yeah.
Um.
I like testing you. It's funny.
This should probably not be this complicated, but I guess I don't talk to my little girl enough, huh? I would say, and this is going to be 6, but enjoy the journey and follow your dreams.
Okay. Same Nancy.
Tell the truth.
Yeah. Richard.
I'm gonna do the 6th thing like Ashley did. So it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah. You know, I'm agreeing with that one. I agree. And if you're not okay, reach out. There's always someone. Takes less than 6 seconds to make a phone call. Less than 6 seconds. Right. Next week, we're on a bit earlier. Blame the guest. Blame the guest. Who is the guest anyway? Let me just see. Lisa Tickle. I don't know what she is, but she sent a bio and stuff like that. How to reclaim your life. So that's going to be on at 6 p.m. UK. I know Ashley's going to try and come up with an excuse not to be there, but she's going to be there anyway. Richard, are you joining?
I will not be able to join because next week I'm actually throwing my own. We're having a 3-hour workshop on how to escape the rat race and how to escape the rat race and become financially successful. So,
Awesome.
So that's what I'll be doing for the next week for 4 hours.
Awesome. Nancy?
I'm on the fence. Is that the week we're supposed to dress up for Halloween?
Yes, it's a Halloween special.
I got a great Halloween costume and I've got another event, but I don't know what it is. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm double booked. I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's an address.
Well, Ashley, you're dressing up anyway, aren't you?
I don't know. We'll see.
Such a letdown. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna love
probably
you.
be dressed just like this because I'm the self-care mama, so I'm gonna be comfortable because that's me. Maybe
I'll be dressed up. I'll be dressed up.
My bathrobe on.
I'll be dressed up.
I could put I got an idea. Okay.
Okay. Right. Please subscribe, everyone. See you next week.